All right, all right. Peace and wellness, family. I hope that y'all are well and happy and whole and all that good stuff. If you are new here, I am the Queen Poe, and the intention for this video is for us to discuss our upcoming 999 portal. We will talk about the numerology, the meaning of the number nine. We'll talk about the energy impact of this day, as well as identify some practices that we can implement on 999 to utilize all of this energy for our wellness. First and foremost, I have to say shout out to the wellness community, butterflies in the sky. We see y'all over here in the chat with all of the butterfly emojis. I love y'all dearly. We had a time last night, okay? So we did our Sunday film watch party and we watched Highest to Lowest by Spike Lee, which was a great, 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 great film. I am a Spike Lee fanatic, okay? So I greatly enjoyed it. I'll do a review about it and share that video with you all. But that film was so good and I really enjoyed our discussion. We talked for 4 hours after the movie. When I saw the Thoughts and Feels replay, the time I said, oh my God, we was talking for 4 hours. I forgot we started at 6. So we didn't finish until midnight. Okay. The film was 2 hours and then we talked from 8 to midnight, after midnight. But it was so worth it. The conversation was really, really good. And that's something that Spike Lee always does is he offers us the opportunity to really unpack different layers and topics about Black culture and Black community, right? And things that we could do better, things that we are doing well and thriving at, right? So we were able to have a lot of good conversation from there, right? Now, I wanted to go live today to discuss the 999 portal, which is tomorrow, because I think that this 999 portal is divinely aligned and will offer all of us the opportunity to spiritually elevate if we decide, right? And I say if we decide because I always tell folks if your spirit calls you to just rest, definitely do that. Don't feel pressured to have to do something, right? Like if you feel called just to rest and just be, definitely do that because the energy of nine can be a very thick energy, right? So without further ado, let's discuss some of the meaning of this energy. Also, let's discuss some things that we can do with this energy tomorrow. Now, we have to acknowledge that tomorrow is September 9th, 2025. So it is the ninth day of the ninth month of the year of nine. And when we're talking about the year of nine, and first off, I have to also acknowledge that 9 plus 9 plus 9 is 27, and 2 plus 7 equals 9. So it is also a full 9 day, right? So acknowledging the ninth day of the ninth month of the ninth year, and it is a divine 9 days. Shout out to D9, shout out to the divine nine, right? But the meaning of the number nine, there's various meanings of the number nine, but they all align and work together, right? Of course, in supreme mathematics, the number nine is to be born, right? If we're talking about from a Isheshe perspective, right, an Ifa science-based perspective, the number nine is aligned with the Orisha Oya. And Oya is the energy who is over rebirth, transformations, transitions, the ancestors, the Ibeji, all of that good stuff, right? So when we're talking about the number nine, that is the energy that we're talking about. We're talking about the energy of transitions and transformations, the energy of being born and rebirthed, right? Also, we're talking about karmic energy and karmic cycles. So on a 999 day, all of that energy is divinely elevated, right? So what should you be doing tomorrow? And as y'all see, I'm flowing quickly because I don't plan on being before y'all long. Okay. I don't plan. I said this ain't gonna be no hour live. Okay. We can kind of sum this up. But I think it's important to acknowledge that the first thing that you have to do is to release fear, right? You have to release fear around transitions. You have to release fear around transformations. You have to release fear around change because a lot of people, when we talk about that nine energy, we talk about that Oya energy. A lot of people fear the Orisha Oya. They fear change, transformations, and transitions, right? In acknowledgement of the blood moon and the eclipse that we just experienced, a lot of people were in fear and saying, like, oh, this is chaotic energy. You shouldn't do anything in this energy because eclipse energy is chaotic. And when you ask why, it's because, oh, it can bring changes and transformations. Why is that something that you fear? Why are changes and transformations something that you run from or something that you are afraid of, right? So, the first thing that you should do is release that fear. If you want yourself to elevate, if you want to be able to progress, if you want to be able to thrive, you have to learn to embrace change, embrace transformation, embrace transitions. You have to build a beautiful relationship with new, right? With new things and new experiences and new opportunities, you have to start to grow in love with the idea of changes and transformations and transitions. You have to. The only way that you can be able to manifest is if you open your roads, right? In order to open your roads, you have to clear things out of your path. You will have to change some things. You will have to release some things. You will have to transition out of some old ways, right? So that is the energy of change and transformation and transition. When we're talking about road openers, that's the energy that we're talking about. There's nothing to fear about the chaos of that. And I don't even like aligning it with the term chaotic because chaotic is known as being a negative thing, right? And let's be clear, like change and transition doesn't always have to be chaotic, especially when you embrace it. I think that the only time that change and transition is chaotic is when we try to fight against the divine flow, right? When we try to move away from it and we try to run from it or stop it. That's the only time when, in my opinion, when it becomes chaotic energy, right? So, in order to be able to flow and change, you have to learn to just move in that divine flow. You have to learn to embrace the energy of transition and transformation. And when I say transition, I'm also talking about transition between life and death, as well as reincarnation, right? Death to life, the cycles of life, the cycles of energy and understanding infinite energy. You have to learn to embrace that as well. Keep in mind, the number nine is aligned with the Orisha Oya, and Oya is also a guide of the ancestors. She's known as the guardian of the inside of the cemetery, right? So when you are practicing ancestor veneration, you are aligning with Oya energy. When you're working with your ancestors, you are aligning with Oya energy. This is not energy that we should be afraid of. This is not energy that we should run from. So again, the first thing I recommend that you do is really study your relationship with transitions, transformations, life and death, right? Really study your relationship with the energy of change, right? The energy of opening roads and closing some roads, right? Sometimes we have to close certain roads and close certain doors in order to be able to align with what is for us, right? So study your relationship with that. In order to study your relationship with that, I was telling the wellness community, I heavily advise that you go back to the year of 2016, which was also a year of nine, and really reflect on any major changes, transitions, transformations that you experienced that year, any endings, right? Because the number nine is also associated with closure. So, what had ended for you that year? So, go reflect back on 2016 and really pay attention to the transitions, transformations, changes, karmic cycles ending, the closure that you may have gotten in relationships and so on and so forth that you experienced that year. And that is how you could get a better understanding of your relationship with the energy of nine, with the energy of Oya, with the energy of change and transformation, birth, rebirth, death, life, right? How has that energy energy showed up in your life. And if you can't easily, off top of your head, remember that energy, I was telling the wellness community to go back to your old photos, right? Like, don't be afraid to scroll back in your phone and look at photos from 2016 so that you can kind of have your memory jogged about what happened in that year, right? But again, that is a good way to like really reflect and deepen your understanding of your relationship with change and transformation, right? Now, I want to acknowledge some practices aside from just reflecting on 2016 and releasing fear, right, associated with change and transition. I also want to acknowledge the value of tomorrow, September 9th, 2025, 999 day. You absolutely 1000% want to elevate in your ancestor veneration. You want to be super intentional about practicing ancestor veneration tomorrow. I would heavily advise that that be the first thing that you do when you wake up. We have to keep in mind that we are still in the shadow period of our new moon. The new moon shadow period, excuse me, not new moon, our full moon. Our full moon, our full blood moon, our corn harvest moon, the shadow period for that ends September 10th, right? So because we are still in that shadow period, we still have that full moon energy present. As we know, this full blood moon energy had the veil thin already, right? And this 999 portal energy will also have the veil very thin. And when I say the veil is thin, I mean communication between physical realm and spiritual realm will be very, very easy. So I would heavily advise the first thing you do tomorrow, the first practice would be to honor your ancestors, practice some type of ancestor veneration. And this could look like going to a tree and putting out some offerings for your ancestors, releasing some offerings to your ancestors or for your ancestors to the water, right? I can't say enough how all of the planetary alignment right now is calling us to the water, right? So definitely align with the water if you can. Go release some offerings for your ancestors to the water, or even if you just in your home, right, at your ancestor altar, you want to refresh your ancestor altar. You want to spend some time meditating at your ancestor altar. Really be open to that spiritual communication on this 999 day, okay? Because it will be a beautiful opportunity for you to be able to receive some very clear communication from your ancestors, as well as just to give them some gratitude for the divine guidance. Once again, the number 9 is an ancestor number. It's a number associated with the ancestors. It's the number associated with Oya, who is the keeper and the guide of the ancestors, right? So keep that in mind, right? So a good day to elevate in that ancestor energy. Now, I also have to acknowledge the value of tomorrow. If you feel led, take a good spiritual bath for cleansing your energy, right? The number 9 is associated with cycles ending as well as karmic cleansing. So tomorrow is a good time to take a spiritual bath to cleanse your energy. And it doesn't have to be anything super complex, right? You can do some coconut water or coconut milk, which is in alignment with Obatala, which is all about cleansing and purification. You can also add some bay leaf, which is all about dispelling any negative energy. Tomorrow is a good day to really dispel and remove any negative energy that is not aligned with your wellness. So that spiritual bath for dispelling will be helpful, okay? Now you can add any other herbs that you feel led to that are aligned with dispelling for you. You can add your horsetail, which is all about clearing your energy, clearing your path, opening your road. You can also add coffee grounds, which is also about opening your roads and clearing your paths, opening up some gateways as well. You can also add some fresh tobacco to the spiritual bath, and you don't need a lot, right? This is the thing. When I talk about these things, I can see people having like a murky, muddy bath water full of tobacco, and you dumping out a whole Dutch in your tobacco, like in your bath water. Like, it doesn't have to be a lot. A pinch goes a long way. Okay, a pinch of coffee grounds, a pinch of tobacco, a couple of bay leaves, a cup of coconut milk. That goes a very long way. You can also add your sage, anything else that you feel led, right? Skull cap is also good. Cloves are also good. Y'all know clove is one of my favorite herbs for dispelling. Clove is a good herb to stop gossip, to remove people from around you who are speaking against you, who are not for your wellness, right? So having some clove is going to be really good. You can also burn some clove in the bathroom while you take your spiritual bath. That's also good as well. But again, any herbs that you feel led. Now, with the spiritual bath, you want to be very, very, very mindful about submerging your body. And I know my black folk, I know us, we don't be wanting to get that hair wet, huh? Every time I talk about this, somebody be like, well, what if I don't want to get my hair wet? What if I don't want to get my hair wet? If you don't want to get your hair wet, I definitely understand. Just be sure to make sure, at least, at the very least, put a few drops over your crown. That's the biggest part about submerging your head, is that you need to at least put a few drops over your crown, right? To cleanse your crown, cleanse your ori. Okay. So if you don't want to wet your whole head, part of that and just do a few drops over the crown. Okay. Just to get some cleansing going in that area. Eucalyptus is also another good herb that's good for feeding the ori as well as cleansing the ori. Okay. So put a couple of drops of eucalyptus oil if you have it. All right. Now, ancestor veneration, reflecting on 2016, releasing fear. Salam. Salam. Thank you, babes. Thank you. I'm talking to the people. Salam. Thank you, babe. Okay. So, like I was saying, your spiritual bath, your ancestor veneration, reflected on 2016, releasing fear, some practices. I also want to acknowledge the value of visualization meditation. And this is something that you can do while you are in your spiritual bath, is visualization meditation. And shout out to the wellness community. We just finished reading Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty, where he had a whole section on there in practice dedicated to visualization meditation. And a lot of people really enjoyed that one, right? But with tomorrow, and I saw somebody ask before I got started, I saw in the comments in the chat, somebody was asking, should we focus on manifesting tomorrow? I want to talk about this, right? Especially because we're talking about visualization meditation. Manifestation shows up in a variety of different ways, right? And just like healing shows up in a variety of different ways, right? Manifestation happens in steps, and a huge part of manifestation is the release portion, right? In order to be able to manifest an elevation, manifest a divine alignment, manifest purpose and passion, etc., 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 sometimes you have to release things that are blocking you or stopping you from being divinely aligned, from showing up in your purpose, from showing up in your passions, from spiritually elevating and enhancing your spiritual gifts and so on and so forth, right? So the release, to me, in my opinion, release is somewhat of a phase of manifestation, right? Now, when you are practicing your visualization meditation tomorrow, I think, and again, in my opinion, visualization is one of the most important steps of manifestation, right? Because in order to be able to manifest, you have to decide what it is you want. You have to decide. And when you are practicing visualization meditation, you are visualizing your higher self. You are visualizing yourself doing whatever it is that you desire. You are visualizing yourself practicing your spiritual gift as you feel led and as you want to. So you have to, whatever it is that you want, you have to be able to see yourself doing that. The beautiful thing about visualization meditation is it also offers us the opportunity to release and cleanse ourselves. And this is what we should be focusing on tomorrow. As you are in your spiritual bath or at your ancestor altar or wherever you feel comfortable and led, and you are practicing your visualization meditation, you are fully holistically seeing yourself in your desire. I want you to also pay attention to what is not there. Pay attention to what you don't see. Pay attention to how you are not thinking. Pay attention to how you are not moving and behaving, right? Because what you may realize is when I visualize and I vision my highest self, when I visualize myself and my desire, I am not connected to what I'm actually still connected to in this space where I am now. So that is what I need to release. I'm not thinking these types of thoughts, which are a part of my thought patterns today. So that is what I need to release. I'm not practicing these behaviors in my visualization that I'm practicing today. So that is what I need to release. So as you are practicing your visualization meditation and you're seeing your higher self and you're seeing yourself in your purpose, in your passion, elevated in your spiritual gift, also take note of what you are no longer attached to in that visualization. And that is a part of what you need to release. Okay. That's a part of what you need to release. Now, how to release it? This is the next practice that you can do tomorrow as well, right? You're going to be busy. You're going to be busy. I can hear somebody now like, Queen, how much stuff we supposed to do? A lot. It's a 999 portal day, okay? You're doing a lot. No, seriously though, you do whatever you feel led to do. I'm just offering some options. But of course, after you do your visualization meditation and you realize what it is that you need to release, y'all know I'm a huge fan of practicing a burning release ceremony, right? I'm a huge fan of writing it down, getting it out of your body, taking it outside, far away from your home, and burning it to release it, right? That fire purifies, that fire cleanses, right? So I'm a big fan of that. I'm a big fan of like cleansing yourself of those limiting beliefs, of those negative thought patterns, writing down those behaviors that you need to release, those bad habits that you need to release, those people you might need to release. Write that all down, burn it, smudge yourself down, turn your back to it, and walk away from it and don't look back, right? And again, I can't say enough, the element of fire is purifying and cleansing. It's important that you do this away from your home. It's important that you turn your back to it and walk away and don't look back, because all of those actions symbolize releasing and letting go, right? So that is the next thing that I advise you practice, is that burning release ceremony. Now, before we go, I want to talk about, because I already have been on here 20 minutes. I said I ain't going to be before y'all long, huh? And it done already been 20 minutes. Okay, it done already been 20. I just knew this was going to be a little 15-minute live. But I should know me better than that, huh? Before we go, let's talk about cleansing karma, right? Because the number 9 is also associated with karma, right? And cleansing of karma. We have to acknowledge the 3 steps of cleansing your karma. And it's actually I was going to say it's a lot easier than people think. For some people, huh? Because this first step, this first step is actually probably the hardest for some people. The first step to cleansing your karma is taking accountability for your wrongdoings and ensuring that you are fully allowing yourself to extract the lesson. That's the first step to cleansing your karma, is to take full accountability for your wrongdoings and extracting the lesson. That's probably the hardest step for some people. Okay. That is probably the hardest step for some people. Shout out to it's a podcast called Sibling Rivalry with Monet Exchange and Bob the drag queen, right? And it's so funny because anytime they like, they're friends, they like bicker a lot. And Bob will always say, and what was your part in that? And what was your part? What was your part in that? Okay, I hear you saying what I did. Now, what was your part in that? And honestly, that is a great way to take accountability for your karma. Anytime you find yourself reflecting on things that have happened in your life, right? Things that weren't the most favorable or the best, you have to ask yourself, and what was my part in that? If we believe in manifestation, you have to understand that you are attracting certain energy. So, what was your part in that? What was my part in that? So, the first step in cleansing your karma is taking accountability and extracting the lessons. And then you have the opportunity, and this is the second step of cleansing your karma. You have the opportunity to do what's called transmuting your karma. And what you want to do is make your karma useful. You transmute the energy of your wrongdoings by turning it into right. And you turn it into right by, now that you have extracted the lesson, you share the lesson, you teach the lesson, you become a manifestation of the lesson through change behavior, change thought patterns. So that is how you transmute the energy of your karma. You extract the lessons, you teach the lessons, you share the lessons, and you become an example of change behavior. You become an example of the lesson, right? So don't be afraid to say, you know what? Something I've learned in my life is XYZ. You go out and teach people something I've learned to do better, something I've learned to, one way I've learned to think better or choose better, right? And you go and you teach other people that. And also charity, right? Practicing charity in Islam is called zakat, right? Like practicing charity. And charity is not always about giving out money. Charity is often about consciously choosing to do the right thing by people who don't often, or for people who don't often have the opportunity for people to do right by them. So that's when you can go to and align with somebody who doesn't have somebody show up for them with a giving heart, with a loving heart, with a kind heart. And you be that person. You be that example of kindness. You be that example of true, authentic love. You be that example of God showing up for somebody to really help them. That is the way that you transmute your karma. Okay. So teaching, sharing, charity, good works, good faith, good deeds, right? That is a way that you can transmute your karma. And then the third step of cleansing your karma is transcending your karma. And this one, for some people, is a little more difficult because it's the meditation portion, right? So to transcend your karma is essentially when you meditate into spirit realm and you experience your karma in spirit realm, right? So you understand, and this happens through meditation, right? So you're not physically doing anything. You are literally meditating, transcending to spirit realm, and you are experiencing your karma in spirit realm. You are able to see it, visualize it, visualize the energy you have put out coming back to you, and you are able to deal with the consequences of your karma through transcending it through meditation, right? So that is the practice of transcending your karma. Now, if you want to, and usually, let me be very clear about that, with transcending your karma, that is usually the form of karma cleansing that people practice when they can't understand what they have done wrong, when they can't understand the portion that they need to take accountability for, when they can't understand what was the lesson. So they don't know how to teach the lesson. They don't know how to show up in love and charity in this lesson. Transcending your karma through meditation is usually how you practice it when you don't know that how to take it to the next step, right? How to do the previous two, right? So you have to do it spiritually first in order to really be able to get the lesson, right? So that's not a practice for everybody, but those who need it, definitely try to utilize that practice, right? And those are, I always advise transcending karma for people who are stuck. When you are stuck in a karmic cycle, meaning you keep repeating the same situation over and over, that is when you want to practice the meditation version of cleansing your karma, right? You want to really meditate and ask spirit to show you, why is this happening? Ask spirit to show you, what is it within you that keeps manifesting this loop, this cycle, right? Because we have to keep in mind that the number 9 is aligned with karma and ending karmic cycles, right? So tomorrow is a great way to end those karmic cycles and release yourself out of that loop. Okay, family? So those are some practices that I wanted to offer to you all and explain to you all. again, tomorrow is a day that you really want to, as best as you can, be super intentional about releasing any fear. That's the biggest thing, right? Release any fear that you have when it comes to transitions, transformations, changes. Because in order to open your roads, in order to manifest, in order to get to the next level, you have to be willing to transition into some things and transition out of some things. You have to be willing to rebirth yourself, to elevate to a higher spiritual level, to align with your highest divine self. You have to be willing to go through a rebirth, right? And once again, reflect back on your 2016 and ask yourself, that year, how did I show up different? How did I experience a rebirth? When is a time that you did have a rebirth experience in your life? I know for me, my year of 2016 prepared me for a huge rebirth. I released a lot in 2016. I released some very close friendships. I released a lot, right? 2016 was literally my year of like transitioning out of some things and offered me the opportunity in 2017 to really have that full rebirth experience and show up at a higher level of myself that I didn't even know I was going to do, right? So that was a beautiful time for me. And I'm going to be very clear, you will feel the emotions, right? Like there are emotions. It's not to say that you're going to be like, life is great. That's over, that's done. Like, no, there will be, because of course, with transitioning out of some things, there is loss, right? So you might experience some feelings of grief. You might experience some feelings of sadness, and that is okay, right? But that is just a part of the transition energy. So again, you embrace all of that and be open to all of that, right? Be open to the experience of healing and wellness, but trust your wellness. Trust that you are well and all of it is happening for in your favor, for your favor, for your wellness. So that's why I said reflect on 2016 and ask yourself, how did this work out for my wellness? If you had a person, a loved one transition, the beautiful thing about that and the reframing of that is, yes, they transitioned out of physical realm, but I gained an ancestor, right? I grew a spiritual relationship with that person in the ancestor realm, right? So practicing some healing and some closure in that way, right? Understanding that grief is normal, right? Grieving a loss is very normal, but also being able to find the lesson and the light in it is beautiful as well, right? So again, just releasing any fear that you have associated with that nine energy. I heavily advise that y'all study the Orisha Oya because we are in a year of nine, even beyond the 999 portal. We are still in a year of nine, right? So embracing that energy, honoring that energy. I have a video called The Reading of the Year of Nine. So go look at that Reading of the Year of Nine, where I share a lot about Oya and talk about like some of her attributes and offerings and all of those good things. One of the beauties of Oya is that she is over the marketplace, right? So once again, you cannot try to manifest abundance unless you embrace that change and transformation energy, because she's over the marketplace. She's over birth and death. She is in the birth room as well as in the cemetery, right? So that is the energy that you cannot talk about birth and babies unless you acknowledge Oya. You cannot honor ancestors unless you acknowledge Oya, right? So she's over all of that energy. So definitely study her and gain a deeper understanding and build a relationship with her. No fear. In the words of Nina Simone, no fear. Embrace that energy, embrace that nine energy. Happy 999 portal, y'all. All of this energy is for your wellness. Enjoy it, to be well. Do what you feel led to do. I offered a variety of different practices. You do what you feel led to do and what your spirit is calling you to do, and you will be well. Okay. Much love, y'all. Happy 999. And y'all have a good night. Much peace, y'all.